Hello everyone and welcome to Who Cares, where we're going to discuss and debate the Doctor on his adventures through space and time.
So get ready for the Doctor to punch racist guys with nice hair before it was cool.
It's Pepe's become kind of a symbol. Haha.
Hello everyone, like I said, welcome to Who Cares. Once again, we're here to talk about the newest episode of Doctor Who, and today we're talking about Series 10, Episode 3, Thin Ice, written by Sarah Dollard, directed by Bill Anderson.
I'm Jake.
Oh yeah, you're Jake. Sorry, I had to let Jake...
That's Hugo. You didn't even say your name.
Fuck it. No.
Right.
I'm actually a little bit on a high right now as far as Doctor Who's concerned,
Sure.
because we now have, I can say... this new series with the new companion, 3 episodes in a row that were pretty darn good. And honestly, out of the first 3, this one I think might be my favorite. So
Yeah,
we're on a pretty good streak so far. It's not too bad.
And all 3 of them were Doctor Who episodes, if that makes sense, because I know it's Doctor Who, but sometimes the bad episodes they don't feel Doctor Who-y. Like the tree episode didn't feel like a Doctor Who episode. It just felt kind of like a shitty kid's story that Doctor Who was in. But all of these kind of had like, okay, here's a monster, here's a mystery, Doctor figures it out, and it had good character interactions and building with Bill and the Doctor.
Yeah, how I would compare it is I don't think any of the episodes have been exceptional so far, but they got the Doctor Who fundamentals nailed. Like it's like a basketball player who they're really good at passing and dribbling and making sure they can move their way across the court, but maybe they can't dunk. So far there hasn't been a slam dunk, but the fundamentals are there. Or this is the WNBA of Doctor Who seasons.
For a guy who probably has never watched any of those things, you nailed that joke. Great job.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
So this episode, like I said, called Thin Ice, begins immediately after the ending of the previous episode, Smile. They land, I believe it's 1814, at the last Great London Frost Fair, which is the Thames freezes over in the winter on not special occasions. It's not intentional. Just sometimes the weather will be cold enough where that will happen, and people would go out on the ice and do kind of like the stuff you saw in the episode. Maybe have a food cart. Maybe some circus performers would come, and everyone would just hang out. Very nice, very cool. Great location for Doctor Who, very joyous, and that's a very Doctor Who thing. And I wanted to talk about that because the first, I want to say, 10 minutes of the episode were just, I don't say this word ever, they were delightful. Did you notice that?
No, absolutely. I actually did notice the tone was, we're back at sort of that Matt Smith tone for a little bit. And I don't mean that in like... I want more Matt Smith, because I don't. I just mean, like, there was moments in Matt Smith where the first part of Act 1 would be, here's a cool thing, here's Amy and or Rory being excited about that thing, here's the Doctor being excited to show them the thing, and we haven't gotten that in a while, because Clara had kind of seen it all by the time got Capaldi, so it wasn't like we never got that shit. So it was nice for the Doctor to kind of, specifically, I really enjoyed the part where he basically tells her to go put a dress on or whatever, and then they're just like, he basically just says, like, don't worry about shit, just, like, have fun. Every single day, you can change history on accident. He's talking about the butterfly effect. She's worried about time travel. And he's like, it's no different from any other day. You could step on a butterfly and change the future at any point in time. And I thought that was a cool... surprisingly optimistic Capaldi Doctor, but he's had like what? How long has he been in that school? He's had several, I think like 100 years or several
70,
decades, 70
like
years to deal with that, and he's 2,000 years old at this point, which is twice as old as Matt Smith's Doctor, who was 900 at the beginning of that, I think.
Yeah, so, spent a lot of time on Trenzalore. Anyway, did you notice? This is just a fun BBC set reusing thing. This bridge that the Frost Fair is under, basically the main shot. There are other shots too, but the main one you get.
Vampire episode?
No, it's the bridge that Capaldi was jumped off of in the first episode he was in.
Yeah. Okay.
So I thought that was funny. It was a good set reuse. You couldn't really notice unless you really notice, if that makes sense. Sure. The kind of thing you don't notice until you do. Lots of fun running around. I like that you're talking about Capaldi being very optimistic. It reminds me a lot of the first Doctor's arc, actually, how he started off as such a jerk. Because Capaldi's Doctor, well, he wasn't as jerky as the first Doctor. He was much more closed off. And as he's gone through, now he reminds me a lot of sort of the first Doctor near the end of his tenure, when he did enjoy bringing on new people and showing them things to be like, oh, look at this. And sure, he could still be stern. But, you know, I also like, this is interesting in this episode. I bring it up now because it's brought up near the beginning. She asks a question on Doctor Who, which normally they hand wave away.
They took it head on.
Yeah, they normally hand wave this in Doctor Who, and she's like, I'm black. This is the past. This is a bad idea. This was brought up in the Martha episode where they went back to Shakespeare times. Yeah. Briefly, they barely mentioned it as a joke.
Shakespeare does he call her Moorish?
Maybe. I don't remember. It's been a while since I've seen that.
I think he remarked at her skin tone, although Martha was, like, obviously very good looking, so I don't think. Bill's more, and I don't mean this as a negative, she's more regular. Like I think they've taken a step back from, like, oh, these are models, and now it's like, you know, normal people.
She looks like a real person.
Yep. Right, because, I mean, Jenna Coleman, you did fine, but you're much too pretty for this.
Sure.
Right, though? Like, it's kind of, like, unrealistically, she's just very pretty, you know?
Right. I get what you're saying. But that racism thing she does bring up ends up being there's a couple Chekhov's gun in this episode. If you don't know what a Chekhov's gun is, it's a screenwriting idea that if you have a gun in Act 3 pulled out to solve whatever, you need to establish it in Act 1 somehow. And there are a couple of those in this, racism being one. She mentions it, so that's your first setup.
And not just racism, slavery. She mentioned slavery specifically because it's 1814. England ends slavery in 1833.
Yeah. Like, how many years is that? Oh my god, that's like 40 years before the United States.
Yeah, and then they gave a shit about it. Hey, maybe we had better slaves, okay? Maybe they liked it. I'm kidding. Have you ever seen the people on Twitter? They're like, yeah, the slaves were treated well. No, they were slaves, though. Think of the best treated slave. You wouldn't want to be that.
No, I try and stay away from shitheads on Twitter. So.
Oh, I don't. I
I know. Second, I just have a couple bits, like just quick jokes I thought were notable, so I wrote them down because I thought it was funny. She brings up, you know, couldn't I disappear? Basically, could she Marty McFly her way out of existence? Right. And Capaldi... I love quick-witted banter Doctor. Yeah. So smart. He goes, that's what happened to Pete. And she goes, who's Pete? And he goes, your friend Pete. He was just here, but he stepped on a butterfly and now he disappeared. And then the best part about that, the joke doesn't just end there. They mentioned it a couple more times. It comes off as a very sincere moment between friends. You know, because if you're hanging out with a friend, you know, and you have a joke that was funny, you don't necessarily just drop it right there. Maybe later in the day, it does come up again, and you make a joke about it again. It really, to me, made the relationship feel real. It made it feel like they're really people who are getting to know each other and having a good time.
That's good writing. That's really good writing.
Yeah. Again, when I'm talking about the fundamentals of Doctor Who, you got to have the mystery, you got to have some Doctor monologue, and you got to have some good banter. And this episode had the trifecta.
I think the monster's important too. I feel like the monster's always very important.
I tie that into the mystery part in my head because the monster generally is the mystery.
Sure.
But anyway, another bit that was good. We mentioned this in the last episode, and this was like the best way they could have referenced this. I love it. The Doctor is at the Frost Fair, gets some food, eats it, and he's like, try it, it's my favorite. And she goes, your favorite? Have you been here before? And he goes, oh yeah, 3 times, because we mentioned that there are a couple versions of the Doctor there, 3, I guess 4 now, that are at that fair particularly.
At the same one, right?
At the same one. So I'm guessing the idea is he's got to be, this is the last day of the Frost Fair, so in theory it could be, oh, I was here yesterday is a different version of myself. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It doesn't necessarily have to be the exact same moment.
It's weird that there's so much plotting around the 1814 Frost Fair.
Yeah. I think
it became a joke because I think famously that's the last one, right?
According to the episode,
I don't know if that's great one.
Maybe it's a real life thing. I don't know. I don't know anything about it, so I couldn't say.
Well, I mean, the World's Fair was a thing, obviously in the States, and so I assume that had similar notoriety. I don't know anything about the Frost Fair. Let me know if I'm wrong. But the way they set this up and having the 1814 Frost Fair show up in Doctor Who a bunch, it seems like a little like country lore. So,
I get
you know what I'm saying? And maybe there was a big accident or something. Someone fell through the ice and
like, hey, remember that thing we all have heard of? Let's set an episode. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. I love this. Was one of my favorite. This was a highlight of the episode. Again, this episode didn't have like a really dark moment that I thought was great, although there were some parts a little bit later that get it serious. It excelled in illustrating the delight of Doctor Who, because they're walking around doing stuff. You see all the frost fair, you see the food, you see the people. It's nice, it's fun. There's an elephant, and then Bill starts to see these lights under the water, and they're still going around having fun. And then eventually she's like, Doctor, do you notice? And he goes like, oh, the lights, you're looking for the lights. And she's like, you see them too? And he's like, oh yeah, I figured we'd get to work eventually. Like, I love that underneath all of this, the Doctor, of course, is the Doctor. If she saw it, he probably saw it 10 minutes before she did.
Right. And also when she asks, like, why did you wait? He's like, well, you're having fun.
Yeah, that's such
we just do it later. That's great.
I love that. And I love this version of Capaldi's Doctor. Last season, we saw him soften and have some fun with Clara, but really seeing him get to introduce this new person to this world of time travel, you can tell he just loves it. You can tell it's what he lives for, and it's great.
Yeah, and I have to say, this is my favorite Bill episode. I mean, we're only 3 episodes in, but she did a lot. She had a lot of range in this one. She went through a lot of shit. It was interesting. And she goes through this kind of the subplot to this episode, kind of the thing that those two characters are exploring, because it's basically the next thing that happens is she sees the lights and they start sucking people under. And it sucks a kid under, and the Doctor like can't save him, but grabs there's pickpockets. I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit more. Basically, the kid pickpocketed the sonic screwdriver. He grabs it instead of saving the kid because he kind of just can't. And he's used to that sort of situation where he's evaluated it and he can or cannot do a thing. And she's like appalled that he didn't try to help more. And they have this really good episode-long sort of arc where she gets really upset. And I mean, it didn't feel like acting, and that's the best kind of acting, is when it feels real. And she starts crying because she's like never seen that happen before, of course. And it was a kid, and I don't know. It was just really, really good. And then over time, he like explains himself. Basically, he's 2,000 years old. He's seen some shit. He doesn't say that, but that's what the point is. Like he's killed people, and he's saved people, and he's killed people to save people. And he saved people to kill people, and it just, like, every variation of life and death he's probably seen, so it doesn't affect him as much, and he hasn't had a companion in 70 years, so he probably isn't used to being sensitive about that for a while. And she kind of goes through the arc of not understanding to understanding, like, sometimes this is just has to be done, and I think that's really interesting. They didn't have this Claire in Iron Fist moment where killing's always bad. It was a real conflict. It felt good.
You know what my favorite dialogue from that whole sort of arc was?
What's that?
It was when first she asks, how many people have you seen die? And he says,
right.
I don't know. And she says, how many was it until you lost count? When did you lose count, basically? Which is a good line in and of itself. But then the follow-up punch is great. When she says, how many people have you killed? And he also can't answer that. And, of course, you know, the implication being he's killed. So just like with how many you've seen die. I love that. I think that's a great great setup.
I even like the follow-up to that because he basically says, look, you know, this happens. I don't have... I've been alive for 2,000 years, and I haven't found time for the luxury of outrage. And I thought that was a fantastic line. That's so good. Like, he's got shit to do. He can't be worried about the other stuff that's going on. He's got to get to the point B, basically. I really like that. That's so Doctor.
Right. After that, we get a couple things. There's actually a couple setups here, which I really like, too. He argues with a vendor about his pies.
Yeah. And the coin trick.
Right. He has a coin trick. This is a setup for the end of the episode, too. Again, the thought that went into the screenplay. These are basic screenplay things, but they are things that Doctor Who forgets a lot because they got to write the scripts, get the episodes out.
Sure.
They set up that the Doctor is really enamored with this coin scam trick that this guy does. He somehow can manipulate the coin to make it either land on heads or tails as he wishes. The Doctor wants to know it. And then the Doctor's all excited about it. Again, the Doctor being excited about a thing he doesn't understand is probably the best part of the show. He's just genuinely excited. He's like, oh no, I love a good scam. In fact, I bet I could steal any object from your shop. You want to see? And the guy kicks him out. And the Doctor's like, no, theoretically. But then he actually does pull out a pie.
Right, but did you notice later, it's not just that pie, he has a hat filled with pies?
Yes, that's what the setup was for, is to show later when he meets the street urchins and gives them pies. Not only was it impressive that he stole the pie earlier, he had stolen like 7 pies and they were in his hat. That's such a fun. This is a very fun episode if you can't tell. It's just full of whimsy. It's great.
Whimsy. Oh no. Oh god.
I'm sorry. I can enjoy a non-cynical episode of a thing for once.
No, I totally agree. I just didn't think whimsy was going to hit your palate today.
It did. You know what? It did. I liked it. I enjoyed it. Honestly, you know what? This would have made a great Christmas episode too. They might have tweaked a couple things.
I totally thought that. Like I was thinking this feels Christmassy. Maybe it's just the snow, but just like the sort of the
joyous atmosphere.
Atmosphere. Just the constant happiness, and I guess like the pies felt really homey, and like there's some street urchin kids, which kind of gives you a Scrooge feel to it. I don't know. It did feel Christmassy, and I wouldn't have been upset with this as a Christmas episode, but it was just the 3rd episode, which is also fantastic. So
yeah, we get the return of the psychic paper, which is always good. I like that. I like that tool more than I think the screwdriver, probably because it's less used. Right. But I think it also gets used in more clever ways because it's credentials, and
I like that it doesn't work quite like he thought.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I noticed too. I feel like there was a joke I didn't get. I was gonna call him Peter. His name is Peter, but the Doctor shows it to Bill for the first time, and she says, "You work for the what does she say? You work for the palace, or you work for." You work for basically the royal family was the implication. And then Peter, again, I'm calling him Peter, god damn it. And then the Doctor says, haven't heard that one in a while. And there was almost like a pause, like there was a joke there. Was that a joke about the irrelevancy of the royal family? Was it a joke about just...
I don't know. I feel like that's a UK exclusive. I didn't understand it either. So
yeah, I don't know. But anyway, they go into this factory, and I don't know why the scene was this long. They conveyed the point immediately. But they screw with some people with psychic paper. Turns out the monster under the ice eating people is trapped there by someone keeping it there so they can farm its poop, because its poop is an abundant energy source, a million times more powerful than coal. In fact, the Doctor says it would be suitable for space travel. That's how potent this
which makes him
is.
Believe that it's an alien. And actually, I don't know if there was an alien in this episode.
There wasn't, and this is the first one in quite a while that we've had. This is the closest, I guess, to a pure historical in New Who. Of course it's not, because there's a sea monster, but it's a terrestrial sea monster at the very least.
I think the last time there wasn't a monster was Listen.
Oh, people are going to argue in the comments about that.
There wasn't a monster, okay? It's worse if there's a monster, therefore there's not one. Fuck you. Anyways, the monster is fear. I thought the exchange with I want to call him the foreman. I have no idea who he was, but the Doctor basically sucking the dick of that one guy, like massaging his ego so that he could get information and making that guy feel good. And then I had like witty banter back and forth. I really liked that, but it was long. It didn't need to be long, but those two talking was fun. So.
Yeah, so they get to the place, and this is the point of the episode where I think Jake and I are going to disagree a little bit. So this will be interesting.
Which place?
Get to the place, the Doctor assumes the main villain's house.
Palace.
It's a nice house, but it's obviously not. I don't know what you would call it, but Goes in, the doctor's assuming it's an alien because, again, the fuel can be used for a spaceship. And in a normal Doctor Who episode, or in any other Doctor Who episode, you might assume, oh, an alien crash landed, they're trying to rebuild the ship, and they need fuel, so now they're using people to, yada, 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 yada.
I like that they use what we expect from Doctor Who against us, though.
Yes, playing against the tropes. Good idea. But instead, the door opens, and the guy starts going off on a racist diatribe against Bill because she's black and in nice clothes and sitting in a sitting room. And the Doctor does something which I personally think is completely out of character. Jake kind of disagrees. We'll discuss it. Punches the guy in the face the minute he realizes he's human and being racist. So let's talk about the punch, because other people are talking about this too. And I'm curious your thoughts, because in my opinion, the Doctor punching a guy because he's racist makes no sense.
I don't think he punched him because he was racist. I think it's because Bill brought it up and he told her not to worry, and then she was obviously hurt by it, and that it pissed him off that Bill got hurt, not that he was racist. Does that make sense?
That would make more sense, because...
And also, I think that Capaldi's Doctor now would punch a dude. It doesn't... Like, it didn't feel weird to me. It would feel weird if, like, Tennant did.
Here's the thing. I know what you're going to say, different Doctor. The Doctor's been in a room with Hitler. And Hitler got punched. The Doctor wasn't the one doing the punching.
Okay, tell you what. If... That was Matt Smith, right?
Yeah.
If Eccleston was in the room with Hitler, I think he would have punched Hitler.
But the thing is, the Doctor's also met space Hitlers a lot. You know what? He's met
the
people
Daleks,
who've done
you can't punch them, you know?
And, like, the Ood. For instance, look at the Ood. The Ood is a literal slave race, or it was, before he helped free them.
They like it, though, right? Or didn't they? He thought they liked it. They seemed to like subservience for a little bit. Early on, it seemed he was like, they just do that. That's what they dig. I think they still dig it, but then they got corrupted and started zapping people. Who knows about the Ood? Anyways, I just didn't feel out of character as much as I think you think it does. And
it's just he's met such worse people than like in real life. If you're a person with you see yourself as a person with high moral standing and you really can't stand someone who's racist, I still don't think you should assault people. But if you're gonna, I mean, that's not the worst person to assault, I guess.
No, I get it. I'm just saying, like, I don't. If Bill was any other person, I don't, and also black, I don't think he would have punched that. I think that was
like,
because they show Bill first. He looks at her and then he's like, "Fuck that," and he punches the guy.
If you're looking at it of a frame of because it hurt his current companion specifically, I could see more of an argument. If you're saying it's because the dude is just a blatant racist,
no, I don't think it was racism.
Capaldi's been in a room with Davros, didn't punch Davros in the face. So
Davros is super Hitler too.
He really is. So that's what I'm saying. He succeeded in creating his master race. So
except Davros didn't marry Eva Braun and then make her suicide with cyanide.
Yeah, well.
You know he tested that on his favorite dog before that?
Which one, Blondie?
Yeah, Blondie.
Poor Blondie. Let's make a movie about Hitler's dogs.
Blondie.
It's not their fault.
It's not their fault. Dogs. Like, holy shit.
Yeah, they're horrified.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Anyways.
It actually turns out Hitler didn't kill himself. The dogs did it and set it up. That's the end of our movie. Give us a call, Shyamalan. Anyway. So, what else happens? Oh, the Doctor gives a nice doctor speech. Bill hears it and comments on it. I thought it was just a so-so doctor speech, if I'm being totally honest. I thought it was serviceable, but it felt like a very... Like if someone said to me, okay, here's the plot to the Doctor Who episode. The Doctor needs to give a short speech about, not putting profit over human life. Can you write a speech? I'd be like, sure, I'm not a good writer, but I can stitch together some general, cliche things about humanity building itself up, not on the backs of, each other, but on, helping each other. It was a pretty generic speech, but Capaldi delivered it well, so that's what carried it.
Kind of the message of like the least of us is the value of humanity. Like whatever the least valuable person is the exact value humanity is.
Oh, sure. I'm not saying I disagree. I disagree. I'm just saying I've heard all this before. And
so have I. I just think Capaldi sold it a little bit, but I did like Bill, and she doesn't fawn, which I really dig, because man, just like the Martha or even Amy, fawned. Like, you're so amazing. And she just asks like a more of a deep question. How old do you have to get to write a speech like that?
Right. I get that.
Like, how much life do you have to have to know how to do that? That was I just like that. She more admires him than fawns, and I dig that.
I agree. I like the relationship and how it's continued to develop. So this is again, this is one of the only weaknesses, the real chinks in the armor, so to speak, of the episode, and that is the villain then decides to kill the Doctor and Bill because they know his family's secret about the energy dinosaur, basically. Well, I don't what you know.
It's like a prehistoric anglerfish, maybe, or an alien. They don't ever explain it. I don't think it's alien. It looks. It seems either. Terrestrial.
It's terrestrial. I think it's like the Silurians, where it's just a really, really old life form, which somehow breaks the laws of thermodynamics because it eats people, but can poop out fuel much stronger than the energy in their bodies. But
maybe it's a chemical reaction.
It's Doctor Who. I don't care. It's Doctor Who. Whatever. So he puts him in like a James Bond-esque trap where he's like, listen, I could kill you now. However, I'm going to put you in a tent on your own with no one guarding you so you can blow up.
Boat tattoo hand guy is outside the tent.
Right, why is he outside I mean, you can't even say he's outside because the bombs are inside. Well, yeah, but he's right next to it. It's not like he's safer outside the tent. So it's, I don't understand.
No, that happens all the time. Like in Robots of Sherwood, it happens.
Yeah, I didn't understand that. I feel like they could have written a tighter something or other than that. But they escape. The Doctor gives Bill the choice. Should I, free the monster? And Bill's like, why are you giving me the choice? And he says, because you're humanity. You're representative of humanity right now. Very Kill the Moon in that way. Although I like the way the choice is handled here much better than Kill the Moon. Because the choice that is made is actually followed, unlike in Kill the Moon, which was bullshit. So the Doctor moves the bombs onto the chains. So instead of blowing up the ice and killing everyone, it sets the monster free. Villain is sucked into the ice, and in one of the worst composite shots I've seen in Doctor Who in years. But it was I actually thought it was a little bit charming because I thought it was funny. It was bad, but
which one?
It made me laugh. It's the guy's like, "Oh, I'm the villain, no!" And he's on the ice, and then it splits, and he just falls in. But it's like clearly terrible.
Oh yeah,
it's a terrible composite shot. I liked it though because it had a little bit of charm to it. And then finally, oh, by the way, with the whole choice thing, the Doctor, I don't know if they'll follow up on this, but I'd love if sort of an overarching theme of this season, if they decide to take it darker again, if they decide to get rid of Bill, how I would do it is establish that he does make Bill make these choices, but the reason being because he kind of feels like he needs to absolve himself of the responsibility for some of these things. You know what I mean? Sure, what he did in this episode was a good thing, but it could have gone badly. And if that was that, he could have, in some way, maybe pushed it off and said, well, Bill made the choice, humanity made the choice. That's my thought. And I think if you don't do that this season, I think that'd be an interesting Doctor Who overarching plot to go down some other season in the future. The Doctor trying to disconnect himself a little from the choices he makes because of all the decisions that have backfired on him in the past. But that's neither here nor there.
But now we get to the interesting part of the episode. All of it was interesting before, but this is really interesting because now we're just going back. We have you have a tie up with the orphans. Who cares? He gives it to the orphans. He gives the house to the orphans. It doesn't matter. Yeah. It matters zero. No one cares. Can we talk about the fun stuff?
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. So we get back, and we called it, by the way. Nardole finished the tea, walks in, notices, has it flip out. It was funny. And they have like a short exchange. And she Googles the information to see if the butterfly effect happened, and they make a note, kind of a tongue-in-cheek, why doesn't anyone in Doctor Who know bad shit's gonna happen joke.
This is my favorite joke of the episode, by the way. Yeah. It was, the Doctor gives this normal spiel of, humans always forget things. They have a wonderful talent for ignoring the obvious, and then the punchline, also, there was a lot of day drinking going on at the festival, and I was like, oh yeah, that's a good joke. That's a solid joke. Day drinking. Yeah, that would explain it.
Yeah, it was good. But Nordles is upset at the doctor because he had sworn an oath to watch the thing. He was not gone for at all any time. But Nordle walks down, goes to the vault, and this time I noticed more things about the vault. It kind of looks like clocks all over it, which is kind of neat.
They're Gallifreyan symbols. It's Gallifreyan writing.
Yeah, but it looks like clocks. Who cares what it is?
That's the kind of design Gallifreyan writing to be very circular like that.
Right, but I mean they're all pointing like this. So I don't know. Anyways,
okay.
So he starts hearing banging on the other side of the door, and any Doctor Who fan must have thought right away what I'm thinking. But I'm going to talk about it for one more second.
Okay.
Nardole has a conversation with the thing on the other side of the door, or the person, and he gives way too much information. If it's the person, I think he doesn't want that information. That person does want the information. Nardole doesn't want him to have it. But he's kind of talking like, he might be distracted a little bit. Yeah, he left a little bit. Yeah, he's got a new friend, but I'm here. I'm staying. And I thought that was funny. And then the banging continues. That's John Sims, master on the other side of that vault, right?
It's gotta be. I think
right?
Moffat thinks he's funny doing the knock thing because end of time, and
it's not dun 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 dun, but it's
still.
Come on, it's a motif, right?
I think the 4 knocks would have been a little too on the nose, and everyone would know immediately. Although I wouldn't mind that. I don't mind something set up like that where you can figure it out yourself, even if it is a little obvious. Doctor Who is a family show; it's aimed at a younger audience. I wouldn't mind a mystery that seems a little easy to me, but
yeah.
I
mean, to be fair, it's been what 7-8 years since that Doctor. So
true. But if you're 10, you know what I mean, and you just watched them all in the last 2 years,
Yeah,
because rewatch. But
I watch them all the time. But yeah, that's if it's not John Sim, that's the number one theory, right? I can't imagine anyone's got a different one.
That's the number one right now because we know he's coming back anyway. So
is there a number 2 theory? Other than that,
something to do with Gallifrey or the first Doctor.
Why would he hold the first?
I don't know.
Hostage?
I don't know. It's some 4chan television board rumor or something.
Oh no. You know what it probably is though, and it's Clara. No.
Wouldn't it be hilarious if we got just almost a perfect season? We're like, oh my god, guys, we've had a season so far with they weren't all amazing, but there weren't any terrible episodes. And then the very last episode, the 3rd act, he opens it up and it's Clara and she saves the day.
What if it's and they do a hand clone Rose thing, and they clone Capaldi, and he goes away with one heartbeat left, Clara and me.
Oh, that'd
off
be
in their
worst.
diner TARDIS.
I thought you were gonna say something even worse, and he does the hand thing, but to Clara, and then the next Doctor is Jenna Coleman, and he just looks like Clara.
Oh no, no.
Oh,
that's bad.
Yeah, I think sorry, guys, you'd be missing a few seasons of Who Cares during that run, probably.
Yeah, I'm not watching that fucking garbage. Jenna Coleman Doctor, kill me. Anyways, I think that's pretty much it. What was the next time?
Oh, before you next time, you missed one thing, and that was at the end, the Doctor convinces Nordle to let him go have adventures, and he says, heads or tails? Tails, you let me be. Heads, I stay here. And the implication being the setup from earlier was he didn't know how that coin trick was done, but the implication being he figured it out at some point, or the guy told him how the coin trick was done.
I assume he figured it out. That's kind of a Doctor thing.
Yeah. I'd like to think during that whole adventure, even though the front of his mind was focused on saving the people, in the back the whole time he was trying to figure out the coin trick. You know what I mean? Multiple trains of thought going at the same time. But anyway, next time looks fun. Next time is what I'm dubbing. The minute I saw it, I went, ooh, Scooby-Doo haunted house episode. Because you got a bunch of teenagers. Because it's Bill's roommates. I guess 6 college students are all sharing this house, which is the nicest house 6 college students have ever shared in the history of college houses, by the way. And there's an old guy there. I don't know if he's the landlord or what, but looks like it's going to be spooky Scooby-Doo mystery haunted house episode.
He looks like the bad guy that's not actually the bad guy.
Maybe.
He's the bad guy being manipulated by the real bad guy.
The
He will die
also
via lasers.
you see a peek at the villain very, very
The
briefly.
hand?
It looks like, remember the Christmas special, The Widow in the Wardrobe, where they went to that place and there were the living wood people? It looks like the living wood people. Did you notice that? And also, the house is a villain in the episode because it's eating people, it's absorbing people, which makes me think...
It also looked like the tree was outside the house was eating people too, kind of like Poltergeist.
Right. So and remember, in that episode, The Widow in the Wardrobe, they weren't actually tree people, they were just spirits of trees, and they could live in anything wooden. So my thought is it's the same aliens, except now they are living in the wood in the house. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it could be.
And for some reason, they're attacking people or eating people for survival. I don't know. Or I guess it would be more of a Doctor Who episode if they were living in trees and they were doing fine and not bothering anyone, but then they got cut down, turned into a house, and now this is the only way they can survive is by eating people. And at the end, the Doctor will fix it or whatever. I hope it doesn't end with just another "it's a big misunderstanding" twist.
I don't remember liking that epised.
For a Christmas special, I thought it was okay, but it's far from my favorite Christmas special.
Like
I thought
the kids, like, is there tears that like power something, or no? It's their mom. She's
the mom. The mom pilots a thing. It was full of sentimentality, like not good sentimentality, but like to the point where it becomes sickeningly sentimentality. Like, only your mother can host the spirits of all these because only a mother can host life, you know, like just sentimental.
Gay dads everywhere get super alienated.
Anyway, yeah, I think next week looks like a lot of fun. I'm hoping that's also another good one because I like sort of haunted house episodes too. I like Base Under Siege episodes and I like haunted house type episodes. Those tend to be fun.
Yeah, the psychic haunted house one with the time traveling lady was pretty sweet.
What time traveling lady?
Yeah. They think it's a ghost, but it's actually a time traveler.
Oh yeah.
That's a cool episode. What the fuck is that episode? Is that Tennant or is that Smith? God, I can't remember.
It's Smith and Clara. Smith and Clara.
Oh yeah, it was. Shit. Yeah. Wow, that was a long time ago.
I'm betting I bet they filmed it in the same house too, because it's BBC.
It looks pretty similar. But
keep an eye out for that.
Yeah. Anyways, this was a good episode. We got 3 in a row. We're bound for a stinker. It's got to happen, right?
If not, it would be such a middle finger to every one of his haters, including us, from Moffat, to say, "Oh, you think I can't write, do you? Here's a fucking perfect season, the only one in New Who. Suck my dick."
I would love to gargle his balls for this season.
Absolutely. If he nails it, great. Good for him.
Yeah, like I'm only a hater because he makes me. It's not just because I want to hate the guy. I want to love him.
I have more good, as much as we make fun of Moffat, I have more good things to say about Stephen Moffat as the showrunner of Doctor Who.
65 to 70% of the stuff has been really good, or else I wouldn't watch it.
That extra about 30%, though, sometimes it is.
Yeah.
Woo!
Although some of the 30% sprinkled into the really good episodes. Like there's some stupid thing, or they add River Song for some reason. You know, or they just keep going back to the Jenny Vostra were lesbians joke in an otherwise good episode, like Demon's Run.
Yeah,
like that was a really good episode. Then they sprinkled in all the other shit, which was the beginning of the Jenny Vostra stuff, but it just didn't need to. Some of the stuff they didn't need to happen. But anyways, looking forward to this season. Looking forward to the next episode, and we'll be back again with more Who Cares, because we have a clever title.
Yeah, so you can always follow us on Twitter at @TheRealUnpop. It's not us, by the way. That's our social media manager guy.
So anything he says about the whitewashing comment of the history, not our opinion, because history is whitewashed. As a history major, I can tell you that.
It was funny. And people got butthurt about the Jesus thing, too. They're like,
he was
Capaldi,
brown, though.
Yeah, I know. I think people were mad because they thought Capaldi was literally saying Jesus is like
black,
African black.
I don't think that's what they meant.
Whereas Capaldi is saying no, but Jesus certainly wasn't fucking white. You know,
Right.
he's a Middle Eastern guy. Anyway,
That's funny.
yeah, if you got butthurt about that shit, you're way too sensitive. And if you're ever a person who complains about other people being overly sensitive about benign things, take a look in the goddamn mirror. Anyway, until next time, I'm Yuko.
Jake.
This has been Unpopular Culture. Doctor Who cares?
It's
Ending.
okay. They clicked off when Spencer got punched at the beginning of this episode.